शिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. So we have been seeing that both Pandavas and Kauravas are ready for the Mahabharata war, and they have indicated their readiness by blowing their conches very loudly. That loud sound created by the conches was earth shaking. It reverberated between the sky and the earth. And Arjuna even picked up his dhanush, and he was about to release his first arrow when he decides suddenly that I would like to have a closer look at the Kauravas' army and see who all have gathered here. Because not only the Kauravas were standing there were many kings from other kingdoms who had joined the Kauravas' army. So Arjuna wanted to have a closer look. So then he commands his driver, and his driver is whom? Bhagwan is his driver. And he commands his driver and asks him to place his chariot in between both the armies so that he could have a clear look, he could do niriksha, and he could decide whom he is going to kill first. He was such a brave warrior. So up till this point, Arjuna's mind is absolutely clear. See, Vedanta is talking about all this which happens in our mind, So up till now, Arjuna's mind is absolutely clear that these Kauravas are really adharmic people, dusht buddhe people, dur buddhe people, he had called them in the previous verses. And enough is enough of this adharma done by them, and this has to be put to an end. And they, the Pandavas, as the true Kshatriyas, have to restore dharma back, And Arjuna was, he was very well versed with Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra talks about values like himsa na kuryat, ahimsa parmo dharma. So Arjuna knew all that, this is what Dharma Shastra is saying. But these Pandavas had also Bhagwan, they had tried everything possible, but nothing was working with the Kauravas. So the war was the final answer, there was no other solution to it. And all the values which are given in Dharma Shastra like Satyam, Ahimsa, these have to be interpreted in the required situation, There's no hard and fast rule to these values which are written in Dharma Shastra. So one has to, dharma is always interpreted, That is why a doctor cutting up his patient's hands and legs is not doing himsa, he is doing his swadharma. A soldier killing an enemy in the war is not a dharma, that is his dharma, Even all the Bhagwans, if we see their pictures and murtis, every Bhagwan has got a weapon in the hand. Bhagwan Shiva, be it Bhagwan Vishnu, even Devi Ma has got, a weapon in her hand. Because as the last resort to restore dharma for the benefit of humanity, Bhagwan also resorts to himsa if required. There could be some destruction over here in this world, but that is for the betterment of the people, In Bhagavad Gita itself, Bhagwan says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the sadhu, the noble people. Vinashaya cha dushkritam, to bring an end to all this adharma by dushta people, Dharma samsthapanarthaya, to bring back, restore dharma in the society. Sambhavami yuge yuge, I am going to come in every yuga if required. So Arjuna knows about all that, and presently his mind is absolutely clear. He's behaving like a very brave Kshatriya just now, very enthusiastically he's come for the war to sort out all these adharmic people. So now we have seen up till here. Now Bhagavan has placed the chariot as Arjuna had asked, and what happens now we are going to read. So we are going to read verse 24 and 25 because they are connected. You've located your 24th verse, 24th. Okay. Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Mukto Rishikesho Gunakeshena Bharata Senayorubhayor Madhye Sthapayitva Rathotama Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyaitan Samavetan Kuruniti. So, Vedvyasaji writes, Sanjay Uvacha, Sanjay says, Evam Ukto, in this manner he said, Rishikesha to Bhagwan. Rishikesha is Bhagwan's name. Gunakeshena, this is one of Arjuna's name. Bharata, Sanjay calls Dhritarashtra Bharata over here. This is one name of Dhritarashtra, he calls him. Senayor, between the army, Sena is the army. Ubhayo, between both the armies. Ubhayo means two. Madhye, in between. Sthapayitva, placed. Rathotama, the great chariot of Arjuna. Bhagwan placed Arjuna's chariot as Arjuna had asked Bhagwan to do in the previous verse. Now Bhagwan places Arjuna's chariot in between both the armies. Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah, right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Sarvesham, there are so many others. Cha Mahikshitam, Mahikshitam are the kings. There were so many other kings from other kingdoms and all standing there, and Bhagwan places the chariot right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Uvacha said, Partha, Partha is one of Arjuna's name. Pashya, see, Etan, these, Samavetan, those who have gathered, Kurun, the Kauravas, Iti, thus. So, now Vedvyasaji he writes that Sanjay Uvacha, Sanjay tells Dhritarashtra, Sanjay Uvacha to Dhritarashtra, because this is what is going on in Hastinapur. Sanjay is telling all this to Dhritarashtra, and he calls him Bharata. He calls him Bharata because these Kurus were from Bharat Vamsha. That is their Vamsha, that was their lineage, So this was, even Pandavas were of Bharat Vamsha only. They are Kauravas only, But this Dhritarashtra has gone and divided them, that you are Pandavas and we are Kauravas, So, and the spiritual meaning of the word Bharata is Bharata. Bha means Bhasayati. Bhasayati means that which illumines. And what illumines everything in this world is only consciousness which illumines everything in this world, Now imagine if we think that the sun is illumining the world. No. Who illumines the sun? We can, if our eyes are closed, can the sun illumine me? No. My eyes are illumining the sun. And what is illumining the eyes? The mind is illumining the eyes. And what is illumining the mind? The consciousness illumining the mind. So the final illuminator of this world is consciousness. So Bha means consciousness. Rata means one who revels in the self. in the self. So Bharata means one who revels in one's own self. It also means the one who revels in self-knowledge also. That is also called Bharata. Very significant word for us, because that is why our country was called Bharata. Yeah, this is in our country, in those earlier days, the entire lifestyle was structured in such a way that everybody would get this knowledge, you know. It only got polluted when these invaders came here. These Muslims and Britishers, they came and polluted. Look what is the environment today over here, you know. So nobody wants to know this knowledge, but our country was meant for this knowledge. And even today, the real seekers, when they are looking out for spirituality, only thing they'll think of is India. You know, you want this knowledge, go to India, you know. So we are still, you know, Bharata actually, you know. So Sanjay calls Dhritarashtra Bharata, and he tells him, Evam uktva Rishikesha Gunakeshena Bharata. In this manner, Rishikesha is Bhagwan, Gunakesha is one of the names of Arjuna. So Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra, in this manner, when Arjuna told Bhagwan that you place my chariot, Evam uktva, this way, to Rishikesha. We've seen the meaning of Rishi. You know, every name in Bhagavad Gita is so beautiful and so meaningful. Bhagwan's got so many names, Arjuna's got so many names. We are going on reading, you know, every time we read there's a new name which is being used, and it's very meaningful and very appropriate to the subject matter at hand, you know. So Rishikesha we'd seen earlier, it means Rishika, Isha. Isha, of course, is always Ishvara, Bhagwan, and Rishika means the senses. Our senses are called Rishika. So Bhagwan is sitting inside us as a witness, and he is witnessing and blessing our senses. So he is called Rishikesha. And Arjuna is called Gunakesha over here. Gunakesha means Gunaka Isha. Isha again means Ishvara. And Gunaka means Tamoguna. Tamoguna is what brings in laziness and dullness in us. That Tamoguna is predominant when we sleep. If Tamoguna is not predominant, we will not be able to sleep. So one very important thing about Tamoguna is that we require it when we sleep, you know. But the whole day we should not have Tamoguna, you know, then we become a tamasic person. So here one of the meanings of Gunakesha is the one who has mastered his sleep and thus mastered Tamoguna. So Vedvyasa ji is trying to tell us that Arjuna is not a tamasic person, you know. And any other tamasic person, that lazy, sleepy, dull person, you know, you give him 2 minutes, he'll fall off to sleep. That kind of person is not fit to study Bhagavad Gita and all that. They can't come near Vedanta, because there are some people, if you just give them 2 minutes of silence, they'll just drop off to sleep, you know. That's Tamoguna predominant in that person, you know. So Arjuna is not a dull-witted, dim-witted person. He is a rajasic person, you know, and even Sattva Guna is much predominant in him, you know. So by saying this, he is trying to, Vedvyasa ji is telling us that Arjuna is not a tamasic person. And Sanjay says, Eva muktva rishikesha gunakeshena bharata senayo ubryor madhye, between both the armies, Sthapayitva, he placed Rathottama, Ratha Uttama, you know, the great chariot of Arjuna, because that chariot was not an ordinary chariot. It was a gift to Arjuna from the heavens, you know. It was a great chariot. So thus, Bhagwan places Arjuna's chariot in between both the armies. Then he says, Bhishma Drona Pramukhataha Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam. There's so many kings standing there, but Bhagwan takes the Rath and he places it right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Now this Bhagwan does a mischief here, you know. He purposely places the chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona because he knows these people are very dear to Arjuna, you know. And there is if, he could have placed the chariot in front of Duryodhana and Karna and all, because Arjuna's blood would have boiled the moment he would have seen Duryodhana and Karna, and he would have started fighting right away, and then Bhagavad Gita would not have happened, So Bhagavan wanted to give this knowledge to Arjuna, and through Arjuna he wanted to give this knowledge to humanity. So purposely wanting to test him, he brings and places the Ratha in front of Bhishma and Drona, Bhishma Drona Pramukataha. Then he tells Uvacha Partha. He tells Partha. Partha is another name of Arjuna, which means the son of Pritha. Pritha is Kunti's name, another name of Kunti. He was Kunti Putraha, so he's also called Partha. Partha also comes from the word Parthiva. Our Sharira is what? Parthiva Sharira. When we die, then people say, na, unka Parthiv Sharir Panch Tattva mein leen ho gaya, So Parthiva means coming from Prithvi Tattva. We know our physical body is made up of Panchikrit Panch Mahabhutas. But in that, the Prithvi Tattva is dominant. So we have come from Prithvi and we are going to go back to Prithvi, And this Parthiva actually means clay, So the difference between our physical body and that clay pot is not different substantially. It's really unbelievable, but that is what is a fact. That clay and this clay substantially is the same. It's just that this clay is extremely refined that we can never imagine it is the same clay. But it is the same clay only. So we have come from the Prithvi and we are going to go back to Prithvi. So this is another meaning of Partha, coming from Parthiva. So Bhagavan tells Partha, Uvach Partha, Pashya etan, Pashya, see, etan, all these, Samavetan, all these which have gathered, Kuruniti, the Kauravas who have gathered, now you have a good look because this is what you wanted to do. You have asked me to bring the Ratha here because you want to have a good look at all these people. Now Pashya etan, look, this is the first sentence Bhagavan utters in Bhagavad Gita. This Pashya etan, this is the first sentence Bhagavan is speaking. And this is the only sentence which Bhagavan speaks in chapter 1. That's all Bhagavan speaks. Rest now Arjuna is going to speak in chapter 1, So the only thing which Bhagavan speaks here. Then once Bhagavan tells him to see, then we are going to read. We will read 26, 27 and the first line of 28 because they are connected. Right? Tatra pashyat sthitan partha pitrunnath pitamahan acharyan matulan bhratrun putran pautran sakhims tatha Swashuran suhridaschaiva Senayorubhayorapi Tan samikshasya kaunteyaha Sarvan bandhun avasthitan Kripaya paraya vishto Vishidan nidam abravit. So, tatra, there, apashyat, saw, sthitan, standing, partha, Arjuna, pitrun, fathers, pitamahan, grandfathers, acharyan, teachers, matulan, uncles, bhratrun, brothers, putran, sons, pautran, grandsons, sakhim, friends, tatha, and swashuran, father-in-laws, suhridash cha eva, and a lot of well-wishers, Senayo Rubhayorapi, between both the armies, not just Kaurava's army, even his own army. Tan, them. Samiksha, seeing very nicely. Kaunteyaha, son of Kunti, Arjuna. Sarvan, all of them. Bandhun, relatives. Avasthitan, standing in battle formation. Kripaya, kripaya means compassion. Paraya, extreme compassion. Avishtaha, overpowered by it. Vishidan, sorrowfully. Idam, this. Abravid, said. So, after Bhagwan places the chariot in between both the armies, and he asked Arjuna, now Pashya Partha, look at all these Partha, nicely you have a look, So now Arjuna looks all around, and he wants to see this. And what does he see? Instead of seeing those enemies, he sees Tatra Pashya Sthitan Partha. Then the whole list of relatives Sanjay gives. And the first he says is Pitrun. Pitrun means fathers. So why is he saying fathers when we actually have just one father in our life, the biological father? That is because Dharma Shastra says that every individual has about 5 father-like people in their lives, And that is Janita cha upneta cha yasya vidyam prayachati annadata bhayatrata panch ete pitara smraha. So Janita cha, because of whom I am here, the biological father who has given us birth, So he is the first one. Of course he is the main father. Upaneta cha. Upaneta is the one who does Upanayanam ceremony, the one who gives the thread ceremony, the one who initiates the men into thread ceremony, And generally the father does this ritual, but if the father has not done it, and if there's anybody else who has done this ceremony, as per our culture and tradition, we are supposed to respect him just like one's father. He's that important. That ceremony is that important, Then third is Yasya Vidyam Prayachati, the one who gives us Vidya, Guru, he is giving us Vidya. So, during the Upanayanam ceremony, there's a ritual done in our customs that the person whom the ceremony is being done on, he's covered by a silk cloth, this is the ritual there. And that indicates Garbhavasa. That is why that cloth is put. That indicates Garbhavasa. The first Garbhavasa is a biological mother's womb, We are in that Garbhavasa for 9 months or so. But then when we come out of mother's Garbha, the person has got no knowledge, he's not cultured, he's not disciplined. A child is not cultured, disciplined. He has to be cultured and disciplined and taught all that, So after we come out of the first Garbhavasa, the human being is called a Prakrita Purushaha. Prakrita means by how naturally a person instinctively he reacts to this world, like animals. When you want to bark, you bark. When you want to kick somebody, you kick. When you want to bray, you bray. Animals do that. Humans don't do that, But if you're going to do that, if you want to start barking like a person, like a dog, then you're a Prakrita Purusha. You haven't got cultured, you don't have knowledge, So that birth coming from mother's womb, one is still a Prakrita Purusha only, But then in our custom, this ceremony was done, and that was when sometimes it's done in the Gurukula itself, or just before going to the Gurukula, it was done at home. And when that there is a Gayatri Upadesha given, so that cloth is put on top of the person, and Guru gives the Gayatri Upadesha, And then the person, so the Gayatri mantra is like the mother, and the Acharya is like the father, So when a person lives in the Gurukula, for good amount of years, the kids lived in the Gurukula, There they were taught about Dharma Shastra first, how to live this life as per Dharma and avoid Adharma, not live as per Raga Dvesha. You see, if you look around, most of the people are living as per raga dvesha, doing what they feel like doing, not doing what they don't want to do. That is living as per raga and dvesha. Why are the scriptures going on telling us don't live, don't live? Because we are going to suffer if we live like that, you know. We cannot live our lives as per raga dvesha because we ourselves will have to pay a heavy price if we live. We have to live our lives as per dharma, adharma. So this was taught in the Gurukulas, you know. And then the Gurukulas taught us all about the 4 ashramas, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanprastha, sannyasa, the 4 goals of life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All this was taught, so the child was prepared now to come into the world. So when he came out, this is coming out of the second garbhavasa. That was called Dvij Uttama, twice born, second birth. You coming out as a culture, and then the Prakrita Purusha has become a Samskrita Purusha. You know, now he is a cultured human being because he's come out of that second Garbhavasa. So the Guru is the third Pita, as good as the Pita. Then the fourth is Annadata. The one, of course, the father provides for the food, but if in life anybody has ever fed me when I was hungry and has saved my life, we have to respect that person as our father. You know, that is the respect we give because that person has saved my life, you know. Then the fifth is Bhayatrata. Trata means protection. Bhaya, when I am in trouble, I am in adversity, I am in crisis, I am having fear, there's somebody who has protected me, you know, and saved my life. That person is to be respected also as the father. So, panch ete pitara smritaha. And this applies to the mother also, but here is the war and the men, so they are talking about pita. So, otherwise, the same thing applies to the mata too, you know. Then he says, Pita Mahan. So, the grandfather is standing there, you know. Acharyan teaches us. This is what Arjuna is seeing now in the battle. He's seeing not the enemies. This is what he's seeing, you know. So this is very important to note because drishti, this is what Darshan Shastra, Vedanta Shastra is. What is he seeing? So he's seeing his teachers there, Matulan, uncles there, Bhratrun, brothers there, Putran, sons standing there, Pautran, grandsons. So Arjuna was not a young lad, you know, he had grandsons standing there, yet he was so brave and strong, you know, and his own grandfather was also standing. Look at these people, how strong they were, you know. Sakhim, so many of his friends standing there. Tatha and Swashuran, his so many in-laws, father-in-laws were standing there, you know. Suhridas Chaiva, and so many well-wishers he sees over there. Whichever side he turns his head, all he sees is his kith and kin standing there. His blood relatives are standing there. This is all he can see now. Senayor Ubhayorapi. That is not only in the Kaurava side, in his own side also he is seeing that. And war meant what? These people can also die, no? They of course will die, but even this Pandava's army people also going to die. So tan, them, samikshasya. Samiksh means, ikshana means seeing, and samikshunam means seeing very clearly, very closely. You know, so he is now having a clear look at all these people because he is supposed to kill them, you know. So tan samikshasya kaunteya, kaunteya is Kuntiputra Arjuna, sarvan, all these, bandhuna vastitan. Bandhu means relatives. So this word bandhu is very important again. It comes from the root bandha. Bandha means a bandhu is that person with whom I have a bond of attachment. Bandha means this bond, you know, of attachment. There is a attachment, bandhan of attachment, you know. I'm tied down. You know, in Vedanta, attachment is compared to a rope. Because just like with a rope, you can tie down things, this attachment ties me down to the people here, you know. And the more one is attached, the more one loses one's freedom. Then, you know, my happiness is not just in my control. My happiness depends upon the object of attachment. Anything, one little frown on that person's face, there's going to be trouble here. So that attachment is what Vedanta makes us aware of. So Sarvan Bandhuna Vistan. So he is seeing all his bandhus, relatives standing here. Now the moment this drishti of his has changed, there is a big transformation in Arjuna which happens. And what happens? Now any transformation, if it was happening in a movie or a TV serial, how do they show? Big background music and camera flashing and they're showing on the face, and the face is becoming yellow. That's how they will show some change of scene which has happened there. But Vedvyasa ji just has the medium of words. So he is using the words kripaya paraya avishtaha. Now kripaya means compassion. But compassion is a virtue of a jnani. It never binds him down to a jnani is not bound to anybody. So this is not compassion. In this context, it doesn't mean, kripya means compassion, but in this context, it doesn't mean compassion. It means the emotion arising because of attachment. So compassion is a virtue of a jnani, and attachment is the weakness of an ajnani. Compassion is a virtue and attachment is a weakness which can overpower us. Now Arjuna was a very good, righteous, nice person, but he was an ajnani. This is the difference between you can be a very nice person, but you can be an ajnani and you will suffer in life. So he was an ajnani. So he is avishta he is not by compassion. Compassion is not going to, avishta means overpowered by this attachment for his people, all my people there. There is an emotion which arose in him the moment his drishti changed from enemies to relatives. There's a change in his perception. And once an emotion overpowers us, the emotion becomes the master and we become its slave. It's so important to know this, And here, a jnani is never overtaken up by emotion, He is the master of his emotion. And a jnani is a slave to his emotion, A jnani is going to, when the emotion arises, he'll use it to act in this world. But in an ajnani, when there's an emotion, it overpowers him and then he reacts to this world. There's a difference between action and reaction, And a jnani acts and an ajnani reacts to this world, So here Arjuna is an ajnani and he has been avishtaha by kripaya, which is this is ragena avishtaha. This is an attachment he is overpowered by. So many times in life we are also avishta by so many emotions, And we can take the example of anger. We are anger avishta many a times, And there are many people who go around justifying that, in this world you can't go around talking very sweetly and nicely to everybody. Nobody will listen, nobody will do anything. So anger is a tool which makes all these people work. What's wrong with getting angry, So the scriptures tell us, as long as anger is a tool, there is no problem. How do we use a tool? We pick up a tool, use it and put it down, So if we are going to use anger as a tool, pick it up at will and drop it at will, then there is no problem. But problem is that we get overpowered by the emotion, That is the difference between a jnani and a jnani. Jnani won't get overpowered. An ajnani gets overpowered. He swings to the emotion like a pendulum. And then that anger which has overtaken my head, there's going to be blood pressure, there will be insomnia, there will be migraine. For days on end, my mind is not okay. What is the sign of this? I'm an ajnani, I'm a slave to my emotion, So that is what the changes of Vedanta is teaching us. This is where we have to make the changes. It is so subtle that people don't even understand when it's being told, what changes I have to bring inside me. When Vedanta gets assimilated, these are the changes which have to come in me, So, Arjuna is kripaya avishta. He is ragen avishta. And raga, we have seen earlier, is the first fundamental problem of samsara. We have seen in the earlier class, samsara is made up of raga, shoka, moha. If you remember, we have seen that, So, the moment raga is there, then its twin brother shoka comes, That has to come. If raga is there, shoka has to come. And the word which is used here for shoka is vishidan. Vishidan means grief, sorrow. So when this emotion overpowers Arjuna, he is overtaken by sorrow, extreme sorrow, The intensity of sorrow which he is experiencing is directly proportional to the intensity of attachment. The more I'm attached to any object of attachment, the more intense sorrow I'm going to experience, just at the thought of the loss of that object of attachment, So here he is experiencing, up till now, Arjuna didn't experience all this. He was talking about these Kauravas being all adharmic people, but suddenly his whole, drishti has changed. So if this emotion overpowers us, there is an intense sorrow which one experiences, So he's experiencing vishidan, he's kripaya paraya vishtaha. When, this emotion overpowers us, the mind, the emotional mind is very, very strong, even stronger than the intellect. It clouds the intellect, and then the person cannot think rationally, So this is what has happened to Arjuna. There is a big transformation which took place in Arjuna suddenly, This brave warrior has become a sorrowful Arjuna. This rational Arjuna has become an emotionally wrecked Arjuna. This brave warrior has become a samsari Arjuna, This is where the samsara starts. So there are 3 stages. Before Bhagavad Gita starts, Arjuna goes through 3 stages of conversions, Warrior to samsari to a disciple. He's going to become Bhagavan's disciple. That's when Bhagavan will give him the Upadesha, So Gita Shastra is only meant for sorrowful samsaris. The whole thing is that. All sorrowful samsaris have to understand this, what Gita is saying, So it is meant for that. And Arjuna is going through these, and at present stage, where is he standing? The warrior has turned into a samsari Arjuna. He's so sorrowful here, Now, to really assimilate this scene, one has to do a lot of imagination as to what Arjuna is feeling at this time, why this transformation happened in Arjuna, a massive transformation happened in him. Such a brave warrior he was. See, the moment Arjuna's chariot was brought there right in front of Bhishma, these 2 people were extremely dear to him. These 2 were the main problem for him, So the moment he saw these people, he remembered those good old days. His mind rushes back. Gita is going to tell us later about this. His mind rushes back to good old days when he used to play with them. He used to sit in their lap, laugh and have a good time. They used to tell him stories. They would hug him. They would, this is such an intimate relationship with these 2, It was a very, very intimate relationship. Every time Arjuna would come from outside, he would touch their feet, and these people would hug him and bless him. It was like they were everything for him, And now the thought that they are going to go away, Arjuna thinks about, imagines a life, the war hasn't happened, but Arjuna is imagining all this, That what would life be without these 2? If these 2 die, I go back home to an empty house, what would life be? It would not be worth living, So all these thoughts is what brought about those emotions, because the emotion just doesn't come like that, The moment all this thought came in, all that emotion cropped up and it overpowered Arjuna, he was in the grip of raga and shoka. When raga came, the next is shoka, the thought that I have to kill these people, they're going to go away from my life. So this problem of attachment This is something which one has to understand. One other class also we spoken about attachment and love. The difference between attachment and love is very, very important to understand this, This attachment for Arjuna didn't develop standing there in the battlefield, and he didn't even know that he was attached to them, It was not evident to him, which is like, like some disease in incubation period, and then it surfaced in the battlefield, So then he realized that, oh, there is a problem here. This is the reason why we experience this in our lives. We are not aware that we are attached to people. We are merely living here, not knowing there is attachment here, And when this attachment, the thought of this object of attachment, when the object may be going away, changing, whatever is happening, and then when this emotion overpowers us, we become helpless in front of that emotion. That emotion will take over our lives, So first we are ignorant, blissfully ignorant that we are attached here in this world to people. And when this emotion overpowers us, we are helpless, we cannot do anything. This emotion will make me its slave, So first we don't do anything about it because we don't know that there is a problem. How can we handle a problem when we don't even know that there is a problem we have, Just like those cancer cells, When cancer cells are multiplying inside, we don't know anything, they are multiplying inside. And by the time they are diagnosed, many times third stage, fourth stage, you are helpless. You can't do anything, Attachment is just as bad as that. First we do not act, then we cannot act here in this world, because it's going to overpower us, An attachment is going to bring samsara in my life, This is how important attachment is, Only some rare few people who have Ishwar Anugraha on them, They're blessed people, they recognize the difference between attachment and love, and they do remedy for it, proper remedy at proper time. And what is the remedy for attachment? Detachment, So, and detachment is not indifference or aversion, that also people don't know. It is the most healthy way of living here in this world, So, that only some very, very few people are blessed and they know how to live this life, not get attached here. Otherwise, please be ready for a mental breakdown anytime. When this overpowers us, there is a mental breakdown. And this is what is happening to Arjuna here. So Vedyasa ji says, the moment he saw all his people, Kripaya Parya is intense. He was Avishta is overpowered by. And then he was so sorrowful, Vishidan idam abravit. This he said to Bhagwan. So what he said, we are going to read now. Again, now we had read half a line of that 28. We'll read half line of 28, 29 and 30 verses. Arjuna uvacha drishtve mam swajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupasthitam Sidanti mama gatrani Mukham cha parishusyati Vepatushcha sharire me Romaharshascha jayate Gandivam samsrate hastat Tvakchaiva paridahyate Nacha shaknomyavasthatum Brahmativa cha me manaha. Yeah, so Arjuna uvacha. Now Arjuna is saying, Drishtve imam, seeing these people, imam, Swajanam, my relatives. Krishna is telling Bhagwan, Yuyutsum, those who are desirous of fighting this war. Some upasthitam, who have gathered here and standing here in battle formations, Sidanti, my limbs are losing their strength. Mama gatrani, my legs, my limbs. Sidanti, losing their strength. Mama, mine, gatrani, limbs. Mukham, mouth. Cha parishushati, is drying up. Vepatushcha sharire me. Vepatu is trembling, shivering happening in my body. Roma harshascha jayate. Jayate means it's occurring. Roma harsha means hair standing on its end. It's called horripilations, when the hair stands on the hand because of real intense reaction going in the body. Gandivam. This Gandiva was the name of Arjuna's bow. Stram sate. It's slipping out of my hands. Hastat. Hands. Tvak. Tvak is the skin. Cha eva and paridahayate. It's burning. My skin is burning, he's saying. Nacha shaknomi. I'm not able to avasthatum, even to stand up. Brahmativa cha me manaha. My mind is reeling. What does this mean? Chakarare. So he tells Bhagwan, the moment I saw this, my relatives, the reaction which happened in him, he explains that to Bhagwan, So he tells Bhagwan, Drishtve imam swajanam Krishna. Drishtve imam, seeing this word, Drishtva, is very, very, very significant word in Vedanta. That is, because it is related to Drishti, my Drishti, Drishtva. Vedanta Shastra is also known as Darshan Shastra because of that, because it depends on my everything. This Drishti of mine can make or mar my life, because as I see, as I perceive, see doesn't mean see is different. As I perceive, so I'm going to think. As I think, so I'm going to act here in this world, So be very, very clear that all of us are not seeing this world alike. We have eyes with which we see, but what we see depends upon my perception, and my perception makes me the person I am. It is that important, That is why it doesn't make sense going and exchanging notes with all the people here. I had this problem. What do you think? What do you think? This is what is happening to me. What shall I do? What shall I? Hurry! That person's perception is different than my perception. You have to think yourself. Your perception. It is so important, This world, so many people who see this world, we all seeing it differently. Be very sure about that. This particular world which I'm encountering, we are all not seeing it alike. There are some people who see this world as Nanak Dukhya Sab Sansar. They can only see Dukh here. This is in Sikh religion, they talk like that. Nanak Dukhya Sab Sansar. Sab dukhi hain yahan par, sab dukhi hain. And there are some people who find this this world so beautiful that they are awestruck by the beauty of this world. Just look around and see this beautiful world. The flowers blooming, the lovely birds chirping, that amazing blue sky. Have you ever sat and just looked at that blue color of the sky? It is just amazing. The green leaves, that Hari Bhari Vasundhara pe Neela Neela ye Gagan, ye kaun chitragar hai? There's an old song for that, So a person who's awestruck by this beauty of this world, he has to have a question in his mind, who is the creator of this beautiful world? The things just don't pop up on their own. There has to be a creator. Anything created has to have a creator. And a person who can actually see this beauty, this question is going to arise in that person's mind. And that person has to then study Vedanta, because only Vedanta is going to unravel this mystery of life. No other religion can tell you this, give you this answer, Their religion ends with dharma. All the religions. It is only Vedanta which goes up to moksha, All the religions begin with dharma and end with dharma. Only Vedanta goes up to moksha, and Vedanta reveals the secret of life, So, our vision here is so important, my perception. And we are talking about Arjuna's perception here, So up till now, Arjuna is seeing that his cousins are dushta people, durbuddhehe, all adharmic people, and their correction is very, very important. And I am a true Kshatriya, and I have to fight, and I have to restore dharma here. And suddenly, when he's seeing his people, now he's seeing his relatives. So he's Swajanam Krishna, So the moment the Swajanam, he says, there is a big transformation which happens in Arjuna, And the transformation is because of raga, attachment. Raga brings shoka. Shoka brings moha, And these three are being expressed by Arjuna's symptoms, and Vedvyasa ji is going to explain us nicely about these three symptoms as per the symptoms Arjuna is experiencing there, So we have to relate to that to see what do I feel in life, So that is where I will make my changes. And this is not just Arjuna's problem. This is the problem, universal problem. The object of attachment may be different for everyone, but the problem of attachment is universal. You have different object of attachment, that one has different, but attachment is a universal problem, So we had studied in Tattva Bodha that our body is made up of different layers of personality, and they are from gross to subtle to extremely subtle layers of our personality, And the more subtle the layer of personality is, the more powerful that layer of our personality is, And the gradation is what? Physical body, grossest, it's not that strong, Then the senses, strong, emotional mind, very strong, and then the rational intellect, which rules my world, for me. What I'm doing is as per my rational intellect here, So each cell of our body is pervaded by prana and manaha. Mind is pervading. So mind is not the brain. Brain is the hardware, and the software is the mind, which is pervading every cell of our body, And if there is stress and sorrow and fear in the mind, then the whole body is going to react to this, So initially, if the intensity of the sorrow is not too much, it can remain limited to the mind, And the person will is able to pretend outside that everything is fine, He's having trouble in the mind, but outside he is able to pretend because the intensity is not so high. He can even smile and say, all good, how are you? All good, all good. There is trouble there, but he's able to handle it because it is not so intense. Many people are living their full lives like that. All the time mind is stressed out. So then when the intensity is strong, we start losing control of ourselves, because then it's going out of our hands, Then it's going to flow down to our senses. Many times people, if there's a shocking news, some people just become speechless, They've lost their speech only, because it was such a shocking, it flowed down. And some people start blabbering, they talk so much, and every person they meet, because the mind is so full of stress, they'll tell their problems, this is what, that's all they're talking about, because the mind is full of that problem at that time. And when they share, they feel a little lighter, that, okay, the other people, also having the similar problem. And when the intensity is even more, then it flows down to the physical body. And then there are tears in the eyes, there are butterflies in the stomach, there are goosebumps all over, hands and legs tremble many times, some people faint, So these are the reactions of what? This is the body reacting to the emotion in the mind, emotion bringing sorrow. From where is the sorrow coming? Because of raga, because of attachment. Attachment, and emotion is a thought, and thought on all this depends on what? My perception, how I'm perceiving this. Why am I getting so sorrowful at everything? Because I'm attached, So that's where, and if I get detached, Attachment, I can finish off with the detachment, asangena shastrena dhrinen chitva, you don't have to get attached here. So imagine this perception leading such intense trouble in us, So it's this. So Arjuna here is saying, imam swajanam drishtva, my swajanam, suddenly it's all swajanam here, And this is a sense of belonging he has. My people, swajana means my relatives, they are mine. I belong to them, they belong to me. So what has come up? I and my. I is what? Ahankara. My is what? Mamkara. These two Rakshasas Vedanta is teaching us about all the time, the root cause of trouble in life. These two Rakshasas. Ahankara is the Ravana. Ravana actually means Ahankara only, And then if this Ahankara raises his head, then the brother comes, which is Mamkara, So this Ahankara and Mamkara are the two Rakshasas which really shatter my life, And this is what Arjuna is experiencing. Suddenly his drishti has changed and this I and my business has come in, So here, the moment his drishti changes, this transformation happens in him. We can always, when we talk about our people, we can say, my brother, my father, we can talk like that. But this sense of belonging is this attachment we are not supposed to have, You've got to be free in this world. Because you're Brahman, that is what the whole study is about, So this sense of belonging, the moment the sense of belonging comes, Raga is there. Raga will bring emotions. Emotions will go and overpower the intellect, cloud the intellect, and the intellect loses its capacity to discriminate between dharma and adharma. What you're going to do, what is right should be done. The whole mind gets clouded. That is called moha, which is going to come very shortly, So when Arjuna sees all this, they drishve mam swajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupastitam. I am seeing my own relatives here. Then he gives the whole description of what is happening. Sidanti mamagatrani. My limbs have lost all their strength. Mukham cha parishushyti. My mouth has become dry. Vepathushya sharime. This brave Arjuna is trembling. Because of what? Because of raga, Roma harshashcha jayate. There's horripilation, all hair standing on its end, mainly because he has to kill these people, It's not just seeing them. Question over here is he has to kill them, Then Gandivam stram sate hastat. This Gandiva of mine is slipping from my hand. Because he is losing all his strength. Tvak chaiva paridahayate. My skin is burning, he is saying, Nacha shaknomi. I am not able to avasthatum. Even stand up, I am not able to. He just sits down on his ratha. He is not able to stand up. Brahmatiya me mana. My mind is reeling. These are the symptoms he is telling Bhagwan. The moment his drishti changes from seeing the adharmic Kauravas to Swajanam Krishna. I am seeing my Swajanam. Such a big change has happened in his drishti. This brave warrior Arjuna, whom everybody admired, even the Devatas admired him. It seems, during the Mahabharata war, those Devatas had lined up the heavens and they were waiting to watch Arjuna fight because Arjuna is going to fight, He was so admired, So he was so brave that Devatas were also. And this Arjuna crumples down with this raga, shoka, So this is what the transformation is all about, and Bhagwan is going to, he's going to now give the self-knowledge later, which will start from the second chapter. But this is mainly over here. First chapter is only telling us, giving us the context for which eventually Bhagwan is going to give the self-knowledge, So for once the moha thing comes, then Arjuna is going to start blabbering, he doesn't know, his mind is not working properly, and he's going to start, and we'll see that in the next class. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.